Shen Xu awoke in darkness, his head pounding. The air was cold and heavy, filled with an unnatural stillness that made his skin crawl. He struggled against the chains that bound him, his strength useless against their unyielding grip. "You're awake." The voice was familiar, low, commanding, and tinged with something Shen Xu couldn't place. He turned his head, his green eyes narrowing as they met Mordec's crimson gaze. "Where am I?" Shen Xu demanded. "The Underworld," Mordec replied, stepping closer. "My domain." Shen Xu's heart raced, but he forced himself to appear calm. "Why did you take me? What do you want from me?" Mordec stared at him, his expression unreadable. "What I want," he said slowly, "is for you to remember." "Remember what?" Mordec leaned down, his face mere inches from Shen Xu's. "Everything." This was only the beginning. The chains of fate were tightening, pulling them both toward a reckoning centuries in the making. The images of memories flowing around, more vivid. Shen Xu saw himself, another version of himself, training Mordec to fight, laughing at the boy's clumsy attempts to mimic him. He saw himself shielding Mordec from the scorn of soldiers, standing between him and the world's cruelty. He saw the warmth in Mordec's eyes, the way he had clung to Shen Xu's every word. "Mordec," Shen Xu whispered, the name slipping from his lips before he could stop it. Mordec froze, his crimson eyes wide. "Say it again." Shen Xu shook his head violently, trying to dispel the flood of memories. This isn't real. It can't be." "It is," Mordec insisted, stepping closer, his voice softer now. "You were everything to me, Shen Xu, and when you died, when they took you from me, I vowed to find you again." Shen Xu's chest heaved with ragged breaths as he stared at the man before him. "Then why are you holding me here?" he demanded, his voice trembling. "If you loved me so much, why imprison me like this?" Mordec's expression darkened, the vulnerability vanishing behind a mask of determination. "Because I can't lose you again," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. One evening, Shen Xu sat by the fire, staring into the flickering flames. Mordec leaned against the far wall, his arms crossed, watching him with an inscrutable expression. "Why do you care so much?" Shen Xu asked suddenly, his voice breaking the silence. "You're the Demon Lord. You could have anyone, anything." Mordec's crimson eyes softened. "Because no one else matters," he said simply. "Not like you." Shen Xu's chest tightened at the words, but he forced himself to look away. "You claim to care about me," he said, his voice low. "But what about Shen Wei? What about him?" Mordec's expression darkened. "Shen Wei is with the Emperor, safe by mortal standards. His life is no longer mine to meddle with." "Safe?" Shen Xu repeated bitterly. "Do you even understand what that word means?" Mordec's hands clenched into fists, but he remained silent. The room grew heavy with unspoken tension, the air thick with the weight of their shared grief and anger. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Shen Xu admitted finally, his voice trembling. "For what you've done, for taking me from everything I've known." Mordec's gaze softened, his voice low and raw. "I don't need your forgiveness, Shen Xu, only your understanding. I don't know if I can forget the past," Shen Xu said quietly, "but I can't live in it forever either." Mordec's breath hitched, his crimson eyes searching Shen Xu's face. "What are you saying?" Shen Xu met his gaze, his green eyes steady. "I'll stay, but not because of who we were, because of who we might be." Mordec's expression softened, and for the first time a faint, genuine smile touched his lips. "Then we'll build something new." The underworld was eerily still as Mordec stood at the edge of his obsidian throne, crimson eyes surveying the vast, shadowed hall. Dark energy pulsed around him, restless and alive. Beside him, Shen Xu stood unbound, clad in black armor that glimmered faintly, his green eyes brimming with quiet resolve, despite his lingering unease in this world. The calm was deceptive. Mordec sensed the storm brewing in the heavens. Heaven had long ignored the underworld, so long as its darkness stayed contained. But his return and his claim on Shen Xu had shattered the fragile balance. "They will come," Mordec said, breaking the silence. His voice was low, a quiet rumble of anticipation. Shen Xu glanced at him. "Let them." Mordec turned to him, a faint smirk curving his lips. "Careful, Shen Xu. Heaven's armies are not to be underestimated." And neither am I, Shen Xu replied. The first sign of heaven's assault was light, a blinding golden radiance piercing the underworld's eternal gloom. Trumpets blared, their echoes summoning heaven's armies. From a rift above, angelic warriors descended, their divine armor ablaze and weapons gleaming with celestial fire. At the forefront stood Seraphiel, heaven's mightiest general, his golden wings outstretched and spear glowing with unearthly brilliance. Mordec, Seraphiel's voice thundered. Defy heaven no longer. Surrender the mortal soul and we may show mercy. Mordec stepped forward, crimson eyes unwavering. Arrogant as ever, Seraphiel, the soul is mine. You'll have to fight me for it. So be it. Seraphiel raised his spear, and the battle began. As the angels descended, the underworld erupted into chaos. Demonic forces surged forward, summoned by Mordec's will, while monstrous creatures clawed their way from the fissured ground, roaring defiance. Shadows writhed like living weapons, lashing at the invaders. At the heart of the fray stood Shen Xu, blade raised, his instincts as a former general reignited. "Hold the line," he commanded, his voice cutting through the cacophony. "Let them come to us. Don't break formation." The demons obeyed, their loyalty to him startling even Mordec. Shen Xu fought at the front, his sword a blur of lethal precision. He moved with the fury of a storm, his human strategy blending seamlessly with the raw power of the underworld. "Shen Xu!" Mordec's voice rang out. "Your left!" Shen Xu spun, deflecting a glowing spear and countering with a strike that sent his attacker sprawling. A quick nod passed between him and Mordec, a silent recognition of their shared resolve. Above, Mordec unleashed his full might, dark energy rippling around him. Shadows surged upward, consuming angels in their grasp. Seraphiel descended, golden spear meeting Mordec's claws in an explosion of light and darkness. "You cannot win, Mordec," Seraphiel roared, striking with divine fury. Mordec laughed, his voice laced with defiance. "Light means nothing in a world of shadows." With a wave of his hand, he sent Seraphiel hurtling into the ground. But the angel rose, undeterred, charging once more. Their battle became the center of the conflict, light and darkness colliding in a cataclysmic clash. Despite their strength, the underworld's forces began to falter under heaven's relentless assault. Shen Xu saw fear creeping into the demon's eyes as cracks formed in their lines. Tightening his grip on his sword, he looked to Mordec, still battling Seraphiel with unwavering resolve. Climbing a broken pillar, Shen Xu raised his blade high. "Fight!" he roared. "This is our realm. We will not yield." The demons rallied, their fear giving way to ferocious determination. They surged forward, pushing back the angelic forces. As Seraphiel aimed a killing blow, his spear glowing like 1,000 suns, Mordec countered. Catching the weapon mid-strike, he burned away its divine light with demonic energy. With a roar, he shattered the spear, its fragments scattering like stars. Seraphiel staggered, his golden armor cracked. Mordec loomed closer. "Yield, or face annihilation," he growled. Before Seraphiel could respond, a blinding light erupted from above. The angelic forces retreated, their mission incomplete. Heaven underestimating the united strength of the Demon Lord and his human ally. As the light faded, silence blanketed the battlefield. The underworld's forces stood victorious but weary. Shen Xu, chest heaving with exhaustion, turned to see Mordec descending, silver hair tousled and crimson eyes still blazing. "It's over," Shen Xu said, steady despite his fatigue. "For now," Mordec replied, his gaze softening as it met Shen Xu's. "But heaven won't forget this day." "Neither will I," Shen Xu murmured. Mordec extended a hand. After a brief hesitation, Shen Xu took it. Amidst the wreckage, they stood together, a fragile bond forming in the wake of their shared victory. Though the war was far from over, for that moment, they found solace, in triumph and in each other. Like that, their reign began.